Welcome to another podcast from the Caribbean Hawk. Our topic today: Jamaica is losing influence internationally because of Gaza. Of all the English-speaking Caribbean nations, Jamaica has one of the highest profiles internationally. Well into the 20th century, Jamaica was seen as a protest leader against various injustices, due mainly to the influence of the Rastafarian movement. According to the late Professor Rex Nettleford in the 1998 introduction to a new edition of his pioneering work, Mirror, Mirror, Identity, Race, and Protest in Jamaica, quote, Rastafarians' organic nature has made them the most authentic Jamaican protesters, hence their tremendous influence then and since on the young and their acceptance both by the wider society, which saw them as rebels, and by the wider world which has embraced them as visionaries bearing the message of liberation and redemption through music. Since the 1970s, various Jamaican governments and the country's leading cultural icons, such as Bob Marley, were vocal internationally in demanding an end to apartheid and colonial rule in Africa. This enhanced the international profile of the country way beyond its geographic size and economic weight in the world. Now there is growing evidence that Jamaica's non-response to the extreme violence in Gaza has damaged its profile internationally. Like any respected individual, the nation's hard-won reputation is easily being lost. On the issue of the extreme violence in Gaza, the current Jamaican government behaves like the Pharisee of the New Testament, seemingly mute, deaf, and dumb. Similarly, our artists, who traditionally stimulate the consciousness of the Jamaican public, are generally silent on this mass oppression of our Palestinian brothers and sisters. Our singers, DJs, rappers, and players of instruments are yet to find a popular medium to protest the massive killing of innocent civilians, bombing of and destruction of homes, hospitals, and other civilian infrastructure, and growing famine across the land. While a growing number of countries have protested vocally against the bloodletting and violence in Gaza, the Jamaican government has been mostly quiet. This has been the pattern since late 2023, when I did a piece on Substack, revealing that Jamaica is the only Caribbean country to vote against a humanitarian truce in Gaza. This passivity has continued unabated to this very day. When the U.S. declined the visa of Palestinian Authority President Mohammed Abbas to attend the UN General Assembly meeting, the body held a vote on Friday, 19th September, to allow Abbas to address the body remotely. Of the 145 countries voting in favor, 5 voted no and 6 abstained. Jamaica was one of 34 countries that didn't vote, neither yeah, nay, nor abstain. Only one other CARICOM member, Belize, which is a vocal critic of Israel over Gaza, didn't cast a ballot. In other words, of 15 CARICOM member nations, Jamaica was among a distinct minority of 2 Caribbean countries who couldn't bother to vote with the vast majority. Even the usually conservative Jamaica Gleaner newspaper, via an editorial, felt compelled to express their concern and demand an explanation from the government. Quote, among the ways other states and analysts gauge a country's emerging foreign policy, or how a country signals its posture on issues, is how it votes, or doesn't vote in international fora, which is why Jamaica's reported failure to vote on the Abbas matter has drawn attention and demands an explanation. Further confirming Jamaica's unwillingness to take any overt action against Israel was their failure to join the boycott of Prime Minister Netanyahu's address to the UN General Assembly on 26 September. 75 countries boycotted the address, including 8 from CARICOM, Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Dominica, Guyana, St. Lucia, and Suriname. But Jamaica was among 7 other CARICOM nations who declined to isolate the Israeli leader. Over time, the pressure on the Jamaican government to explain its position has grown. Apart from the Gleaner's demand for an explanation, the political opposition has charged that the government had not spoken forcefully enough on the conflict, particularly when compared with countries which took more visible actions at the United Nations, such as walking out during Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's address. Their spokesperson has argued that, quote, Jamaica's silence sends the wrong signal to the international community and to the Palestinian people who continue to suffer. Between the press and the opposition, the Minister of Foreign Affairs was compelled to explain the position of the government. In a press briefing, she rejected claims that Jamaica has been silent on the war in Gaza, insisting the country recognized Palestine last year and has consistently supported calls for peace. Simultaneously, Britain, Canada, France, and Australia. All staunch allies of Israel on 28 September formally recognized Palestine as an independent state. They say this is in a bid to give renewed legitimacy to the idea of a two-state solution to the Israel-Palestinian question, and to preclude Israel's increasingly aggressive moves to make that impossible by absorbing more Palestinian territory. Yet they continue to support Israel economically and militarily. The Jamaican government seems willing to simply go along to get along. The apparent intention is to not rock the pro-Western, pro-Israeli boat. In conclusion, will both the people and government of Jamaica ever take a more activist position on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? The above Professor Nettleford gave us some historical insights. He noted that, post-independence, the Jamaican government declared its alignment with the West and Western values, which were in contradiction to the feelings of the black majority. The Rastafarians, in particular, protested this denial of Jamaica's cultural and racial identity. Although they were a small, persecuted minority in the early 1960s, their ideas were to become glaring realities by the mid-60s, providing a logic to the protests by the end of that decade. In time, this logic was to spread regionally and internationally. 60 years after the emergence of Rastafarian resistance to the Babylon system, these ideas and movements seem to have gone dormant. But based on their history, it is absolutely certain Jamaicans will again rebel and demand that their government oppose injustice and oppression, such as inflicted on the Palestinians. Another factor now evident: Jamaica's current position is alienating it from the majority of Caribbean nations. Perhaps this growing isolation may stimulate it to become more assertive. One can only hope. There are other major international developments that will no doubt affect Jamaica's future position on Palestine and other such sensitive issues. The world is now witnessing the decline of the West geopolitically and the rise of the global South in the form of the BRICS. In this growing multipolar world, Jamaica will find it increasingly difficult to pursue its glaring pro-Western, pro-Israeli position. Maybe Nettleford will be proven right when he predicted, quote, "Increasing demands are going to be made for Jamaican nationalism to be more assertive in the interest of those who carry the bloodstains and color of the vast majority. Only time will tell." Thanks for listening. Remember to like and subscribe Caribbean Hawk on YouTube and Substack. Spread the word by sharing this audio with a friend. Until another podcast, one love, one heart.